Folks, the roads out here can get quite bumpy. This is a real truck and I am really driving it. Please be sure to hold tightly onto and get all these personal items that you brought on board. I do recommend you keep your cameras and cell phones out. Don't have them ready to snap some photos. We will not be able to stop for every animal that we see out here. And believe it or not, they do like to sneak up on us too, so make sure you've always got those cameras out and ready to go. If you look over your head in the truck, you'll see that we provided an animal spotting guide up there. Based on certain factors such as dietary habits and migration patterns, I can't say that we're likely to run into each and every one of those animals up there, but I can say that we do usually get pretty lucky out here. Let's hope we get pretty lucky together this morning.
It's supposed to be that.
Now, bear in mind, the Harambe Wildlife Reserve is 110 acres. People per year, well over 100 million since they started 26 years ago. Just waiting on some final clearance from the reserve board before we can head on in. We'll get the truck in front of us a bit of a head start here. Once we enter though, the first stop on the reserve will be in the Little Literary Forest, where animals like to rely on their natural camouflage to blend right on into their surroundings. That's why it's going to be extra important for us to keep a close eye on the bushes, all the trees, tops of all the hills, across all the waterfalls. So let's see what we can find out here together today. Well, there's no copy ramping on the hill to the right-hand side. The okapi is often mistaken to be a relative of the zebra, thanks to their beautiful striped hind legs, which I like to call their party pants, but they are in fact the only known relative of the giraffe. We can tell that by looking at the structure of their skulls, as well as their incredibly long prehensile tongues. The okapi were once nicknamed the African unicorn before they were discovered by Westerners in the year 1901, because their existence was believed by many to be a myth. However, their existence was of course known to the native African populations, who had been living among them for generations before that. They're also known to communicate infrasonically as well, which is just a fancy way of saying at a frequency below the level of human hearing. They'll tell each other little secrets that we humans just can't hear. Look out there on the left-hand side and you see a couple black rhinos. As well, it's a pretty good view right across the water up ahead here on the left-hand side, just out there in the shade by the rock wall. The black rhino is the smallest of the rhino species here in Africa. They weigh only about 3,000 pounds, so not quite tiny, but definitely small compared to other rhinos, that's for sure. They're unfortunately poached out in the wild for their horns, which are made of keratin, the same material as our hair and fingernails. Find a couple greater kudu over here to our right-hand side. The greater kudu is type of forest-dwelling antelope. You can tell that they're female because they do not have any horns, but the horns on the male greater kudu can reach a whopping 6 feet long, believe it or not. So we'll find a bongo here in the bushes to the left-hand side. That beautiful copper-colored antelope here does receive the nickname the ghost of the forest because they're rarely seen. When they are seen, they like to move very silently through the trees and the bushes, kind of sneak up on us every now and then. Now both male and female bongos have horns. Those horns can reach lengths between 32 and 36 inches long. You can tell those are female out there though, because the males have a bit of a darker color around their neck area. It's a bit more of a brown than a copper. We've gotten very lucky so far. We're only about 2 minutes into our safari adventure. Let's hope that our great luck only continues up ahead here. And before we hit the road, rather than keep on traveling north, then I'll take you folks down toward the Safi River, which is an important water source to the animals of the forest. Now, one animal to keep an eye out for down here will be the Nile hippo. They can hold their breath for up to 8 minutes at a time under the water, and they like to sleep down there too. I do see some pink-backed pelicans down there too. They get their name from the delicate pink color that appears on the skin of their backs during their mating season, almost like they're blushing. And they do prefer to feed in quieter backwaters, just like these out in the wild. Here, baby. Well, there are some more hippos to the left-hand side out by the island there. The Nile hippo can swim, but they do prefer to walk or run along the bottom of the river. Keep an eye out for any gliding objects down here that might look like big submerged rocks till they start to move. They will come fully onto the riverbank, mainly at nighttime, to graze for their food, and they're certainly not an animal that you want to mess with up here on land. Believe it or not, they can charge at speeds of up to 35 miles an hour. Now, for reference, we're currently charging along, if you will, at a solid 4 miles an hour, so they would certainly beat us in a race, no doubt about it. The name for a group of hippos is a bloat, and the name for a group of pelicans is a pod, and that was also a pod of pink-backed pelicans we saw back there. See some more hippos down there all trying to stay warm today in the sunlight. Just a little glimpse down there. Well, let's find a couple of Nile crocodiles. We'll see what's just up against the rock wall out there on the left-hand side. Blending right in there. The Nile crocodile can reach lengths between 10 and 20 feet long. That's just about as long as the giraffe is tall. They do mainly eat fish, but they are not eating anything and everything that crosses their path. Not sure about you, but I certainly don't want to be sticking around here for too long, that's for sure. As a matter of fact, let's get out of here. Alrighty, well, we are going to be leaving the river now. We're going to head on down toward the savanna. Unlike those shy and reclusive animals that we've encountered so far today, the animals out on the savanna like to rely on their speed and agility, oftentimes to catch their prey. And I gotta tell you folks, they're usually just a tad easier for us to spot out there too in the wide open grasslands of the reserve. An early sign that we're approaching that savanna will be this tree here to the right-hand side. It's known as the baobab tree, nicknamed the upside-down tree. The baobab will remain leafless up to 9 months out of the year, and it's going to store up to 30,000 gallons of water in its trunk, which can be incredibly useful during the intense periods of drought out here, kind of like a big natural water tower. And it even though just like that, looks like we made our way out onto the savanna, which is home to some of Africa's most famous and well-known animals, such as lions, giraffes, and zebras, to name just a few. Keep an eye on the animal spotting guide over your head of the truck, and of course another eye on our beautiful surroundings, and we'll see what all we can find out here. I do see some hand-cold cattle ahead of us here to the right-hand side. These huge horns on the cattle can reach 6 feet tip to tip. They are mainly hollow on the inside, though blood does circulate into and out of their horns to help cool down the body temperature of the cattle. Fancy word for that is thermoregulation. They're also referred to as Watusi cattle, named after people who first domesticated them many years ago. They were traditionally regarded as a sacred being, but they've since morphed into a sort of status symbol. Today, the more those hand-cold cattle that you own and show off, the wealthier you're perceived to be. I do see a couple African wild dogs up ahead of us there to our left-hand side. Now they're also referred to as African painted dogs, but despite either name, they're actually closer related to the fox than they are to the domestic dog or to the hyena. But fooled by their seemingly gentle and restful nature, they are one of the world's top apex predators. They have a very high success rate catching their prey, placing them pretty much right near the top of the food chain out in the wild. Some beautiful Maasai giraffes and some Hartman's mountain zebras here too, all on the left-hand side. The Maasai giraffe can reach heights approximately 17 feet tall. They're also well known for their incredibly long prehensile tongues, which can reach lengths of 18 inches, the length of your pointer finger all the way up to your elbow. Find a couple sable antelopes there too. Those are the dark brown antelopes. They're the official emblem of the reserve for their highly territorial nature. Each and every zebra has a completely unique pattern to their coat, the same way that each and every human has a completely unique fingerprint. Means that when a baby zebra is born, that baby's going to memorize its mother's coat to help differentiate her from the rest of the group. The name for the zebras is a dazzle, and they're also referred to as a seal.
You see the zebra?
I'll find another Maasai giraffe here by the tree on the left-hand side. The Maasai giraffe is a restless creature. They sleep only about 30 minutes a day. That's not all on one side, and just a couple short naps that add up to 30 minutes total. They'll sleep standing up or sitting down, but never fully laying down, because they always like to remain at least semi-aware of their surroundings, just in case of potential predators in the area. Though they are gentle giants, the Maasai giraffe certainly has a very powerful kick when it's out in the wild. Those legs alone are between 6 and 8 feet tall on average. These are elands here on the left-hand side. The eland is the largest antelope out here on the reserve, measuring up to 6 feet tall. The special fluid fully grown. They're a highly endangered species, but 50% of them worldwide do live in protected wildlife areas just like this one out in the wild. Find some wildebeest out there on the right-hand side, just as the turn my mouse there. The wildebeest do migrate 1,000 miles during their migration season. The babies can be up and running with the rest of the herd only 15 minutes after they're born because they're usually born during their migration. In just a bit of a tough luck approach, they've got no choice but to keep up with the rest of the herd or be left behind. They're also referred to as new, that's G and U, that's in the south I think, and they get the name wildebeest from the Afrikaans word for wild beast. So we'll find a couple springboks way up there on the right-hand side. Those are the tiny little tan and white antelopes up on top of the hill. They're the smallest antelope out here on the reserve, measuring only about 3 feet tall at the shoulder. But despite their small size, they can actually jump heights of 6 feet high and 15 feet across in just one single leap. It's for their highly agile nature that the springbok is named the national animal of the country of South Africa, and the mascot of many sports teams out there too. We've gotten very lucky so far. I think the animals are enjoying this beautiful weather. A bit chilly, but nice and sunny. It's a nice break from the intense heat that they're so used to experiencing out here on the savannah. About halfway through the reserve now. Let's keep on going here, see what else we can find. Now, passing by a watering hole here, keep your eyes out for some elephants in the area. Elephants like to hang out near sources of water here on the savannah. Plus, there's one just across the water there, as a matter of fact, on the right-hand side. And this one here to our right is probably a male, based on the fact that he appears to be alone in this area. The males are usually just a bit more solitary and introverted than their more social and outgoing female counterparts. He's a bit shy this morning, but we might get a better view of him. There's a clearing in the trees and the bushes where a road used to be many years ago. Let's see, he uses 3-head-style trunk to ram any grass up the ground, bring it right into his mouth. They do have more muscles in their trunks than we humans have in our entire bodies, believe it or not. And their trunks are also longer than the average adult human is tall.
Yeah, it's an elephant. Yeah.
They're going to dip those trunks into the water, splash that water onto the backs, or drink it all down. Either way, it helps keep them cool and hydrated on a bit of a warmer day. There's definitely more than one elephant that calls the Harambe Wildlife Reserve home, though, so let's keep our eyes peeled and our fingers crossed. Might find some more out here this morning. Some of the others have been seen crossing over this very bridge out in front of us. Let's cross over the bridge too. Might find them on the other side somewhere. But I will tell you folks, it is getting very rare for us to see an elephant out in the wild these days. They are facing poaching for their beautiful ivory tusks, and they're also facing habitat destruction. Their homes are being destroyed at an alarming rate, which is pushing those elephants closer and closer to human environments against their will. Now it actually does make sense they were seen crossing over that bridge back there, though, because that only brings them closer to these red clay pits up ahead of us. The elephants like to eat the clay right off these clay pits here. It might not look very appetizing to us, but it does provide them with a ton of nutrients. Look here to the right, we'll find some tusk marks in the clay from breakfast this morning and some footprints on the ground down here to the left-hand side too. I will tell you the easiest way for us to find an elephant out in the distance on a bit of a warmer day is to look for a big set of flapping ears. The ears are the world's best built-in fan, and when an elephant flaps their ears, they can actually cool down their internal body temperature up to 15 whole degrees Fahrenheit. Fancy word for that is thermoregulation. Take us all way, way out there in front of us on our left, so hopefully we'll meet somewhere in the middle here. It's been hard telling when those ears are always kind of flapping and moving about in some way, but they're actually pretty similar to the continent of Africa. And believe it or not, an Asian elephant's ears are also shaped pretty similar to the country of India, too. That's the country which an Asian elephant is most often found out in the wild. Another reason why I like hanging out by the clay pits back there is because they have highly sensitive skin. Might look pretty thick and tough on the surface, but it is in fact truly very sensitive. They're going to head out there to the clay pits and rub some of that clay onto their backs, because that's going to help act like a natural sunblock for them. They are very intelligent animals indeed, and since they also eat that clay from the clay pits, I guess you could say that makes them one of the only animals to eat their sunblock as well. Dip into the water here just to get a great view across the water on our left. so she's found a nice big breakfast this morning. Out that here, you can hear them before you can see them. We have some flamingos gathered around the island here. On the left-hand side. Now the name Perkable flamingos is a flamboyance. These are greater flamingos to the left here, the lightest pink of the flamingo species. They'll get their pink color from the brine shrimp that they love to eat, which is high in beta-carotene. The baby flamingo will hatch right. It'll take up to 1 full year for them to start turning pink. By the time we reach about their second birthday, though, they're usually just about fully grown and fully pink as well. In the meantime, though, the area of the reserve we are entering now is known as the Mud Wallow, which is a favorite savanna ecosystem of the white rhinos on the preserve. White rhinos do share that same sensitive skin as the elephants. They like to roll around in this big puddle of mud up ahead of us here to help soothe and protect their skin from the sun. You might be able to see a little baby elephant back there on the left, a bit hard for most of us to see. You can't see it where you're sitting though. Hope you enjoy your little glimpse there. She's very, very shy. She likes to hide away in the back most of the time. Oh, we'll see a much better view of these white rhinos entering the area here in front of us. Although they have a great view here on our left, believe it or not, they cannot see us one bit. They don't have the best eyesight. They can only see about 10 feet in front of their faces, so they can barely even see each other. But the lack of sight do they make up for 10 times over in hearing. So even though they still can't see us, they can hear us back by the flamingos and even back by the elephants. You can hear those flamingos vocalizing right now as we speak. You'll see that they're just about the same color as the black rhino we saw way back at the beginning of our safari, and that's because they received that name white rhino from a miscommunication. They were named for their wide mouths. The Afrikaans word for wide is white, that's W-I-T. English speakers misinterpreted that word fight. They thought it meant white and not wide. But they kind of just stuck, and that's why they're called white rhinos today and not wide rhinos. Find a couple cheetahs over there on the hills on the left. The cheetah is the fastest land animal. They can charge at speeds of 60 miles an hour, attaining that speed in just 3 seconds from a standing position. Of course, though, the cheetah is a sprinter, not an endurance runner. They're only going to sustain that speed of 60 miles an hour for a couple hundred yards at a time before slowing down just a bit. Other than that, though, the cheetah is the only big cat to hunt during the daytime. They're also the only big cat that can purr as well. Prefers aquatic environments, and they're well known for their distinct heart-shaped noses too. Found a couple more white rhinos out there in the distance to the right. Due to poaching for their horns, there are only about 20,000 white rhinos left in the whole world, but as you can see here, there are quite a few to call them Harambe Wildlife Reserve home. Up ahead of us here on the left-hand side. And the ostrich is the largest of the bird species, but despite their large wingspan, they are, of course, a flightless bird. Males will always have black feathers, females always have gray feathers, so there's 2 females sitting there in the sun. Females are about 7 feet tall. If you think that's tall, the males could be up to 9 feet tall in comparison. Much taller than even the tallest of us on board today. And one of the ostriches on the reserve has laid some eggs recently, which we are very excited about. I'll show you these ostrich eggs out of here on the grass on the right-hand side. Just kind of see them by the tall grasses there. And the ostrich eggs are incredibly strong and incredibly heavy too. The average adult human could stand on one of these with their entire body weight and not even crack it. One ostrich egg weighs about the same as 2 dozen chicken eggs. Very strong and quite heavy indeed, practically indestructible. Folks, well, we are heading back toward the village now, but we do have just one more stop to make before going back there. That stop is in Magadi Glen, which we're entering now. Magadi Glen is up to the posted on our reserve board, which we can start to see up ahead here through the trees. The reserve wardens in charge of taking care of all the animals out here on the reserve, a very important responsibility. And it looks like the warden has domesticated some Nigerian dwarf goats. These might look like cute little baby goats here in the warden's yard to the left-hand side, but they are in fact fully grown adults. This is just about as big as they're going to get, hence they are named dwarf goats. They are one of two commonly domesticated animals out here on the reserve. They are domesticated by the villagers of Harambe for their milk, which has a very sweet taste and is beneficial to us villagers both nutritionally and financially. But in the meantime, just because we're leaving the reserve today does not mean that your part in helping these animals with their habitats has to end just yet. Acts as simple as recycling your paper and plastic products and conserving energy and water whenever and wherever you can go a surprisingly long way to help make sure that the animals we were all lucky enough to see out there today, many of whom are endangered, not only continue to survive out there in the wild, but of course continue to thrive and prosper as well. The beauty of all these acts is that they can all be done from wherever in the world you happen to live, and they can all be done starting today. And once again, folks, my name is Ryan E. I'm from Long Island, New York, and it has been my pleasure to be your safari guide out here. If you have any questions or comments you'd like to share, I would love to hear from you. My window's quite literally always open, so please don't hesitate to come right on up to the Enigma when the safari is over. If we have any wilderness explorers on board today, we're riding aboard the SIP-1, that's SIP and the number 1, so don't forget to let your badge. Be sure to take a nice good look around the vehicle before you go, double and triple check your rows. It's been a slow but very bumpy journey today. Stuff may have fallen out of your pockets and bags on either the floor of the vehicle or the bench next to you. We don't want anyone to leave any important items behind, and take that good look around the vehicle once.